This is very much the big one, qualifying for the final race of the season, the one they all want to win, one that they all want to be the victors at, but ultimately there can only be one victor in each of our three classes here in the Virtual Endurance Championship, qualifying for the 24 Hours of Le Mans is about to get underway very shortly. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Virtual France for the 24 Hours of Le Mans qualifying part of Season 11 of the Virtual Endurance Championship. And what a Le Mans it's looking forward to being this year. We are set for 2 hours of absolute qualifying brilliance. And of course, Josh Anderson here going to be taking you through it. And, well, what qualifying session would this possibly be if I wasn't accompanied by the Scott Swede himself, the David Coulthard, to my Murray Walker, Neil Healy.
Yes, getting ready for the special qualifying session, the special qualifying format we have here in the VEC for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And of course, you might notice it's not Saturday. It's because we have qualifying on a separate day here, a 2-hour session beginning in approximately a couple of minutes.
Yeah, of course we do qualifying a little bit differently here at Le Mans. It's a bit different to the norm. You would expect normally we have the cars go out in 2 sessions. We have the DTs go out first, and they're promptly followed, of course, by the prototypes in P3 and P2 classes. Cars going out now on their outlaps at this time. Of course, here at Le Mans, though, the track is so large, it's done a little bit differently. Everybody goes out for 2 hours at once. And you'd think, Neil, that would cause a bit of problems with traffic, but there are a lot of chances to overtake here at Le Mans, and it's a big 2-hour session. It's not like the 45 minutes we used to, where each class gets 20 minutes.
Yes, it's about 14, well, almost 14 kilometres, it's about 13.7 if memory serves me correctly, the Circuit de l'Essarts. And having a look, all of them coming out of Tetra Rouge just now, and it is a traffic jam almost, a drafting session already between the GTEs, the LMP2s and the LMP3s, of course, all of them with different characteristics, all of them with different top speeds. And you've got to remember that they've still got about 3 minutes till they get to start-finish line to begin their first lap.
Of course, you got to consider that as well, and obviously all these different top speeds going to come into it. Obviously, prototypes fast accelerating. In the case of Dennis Jordan, who I'm watching now, he's just not long come out of that first chicane, and he's already hitting a very fine speed. And you know, these prototypes accelerate quickly. There's not much weight behind him. He's already doing 315, 320 as he bears down on the second chicane. That's now going to be 330 as he bears down on it. And then has to slam on the brakes at the latest possible moment. It's a very fast corner.
329 at the point of touching the brakes into the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. But yes, the LMP2 is of course the fastest of the 3 classes that we have. It probably expecting a lap somewhere in the, well, what about 3 minutes 25 region? Perhaps under that.
And that's the sort of lap times we're expecting, really. And with speeds like these prototypes are hitting, that's not out of the question at all. I'm just watching Boris Verhofsky at the moment in one of the LMP3s. Now, you'll notice that's doing 308 kilometers an hour, which is actually a little bit more than they have been doing all season so far. That's because the gear ratios have been up. We've got to believe a new final drive ratio specifically for Le Mans. So they're not limited as much. They could do about 272 kilometers an hour before. That's obviously now been up so they can do 300 plus.
Yes, just to make sure, because if they were limited to that 270 odd kilometers an hour, they would essentially be competing with the GTE cars. They'd be able to pass the GTEs in the corners and coming out of the corners, but on the straights, the GTEs would just breeze past them again. So for the interest of safety, the LMP3s have been given this longer final gear, and they'll be expecting somewhere in the region of a 342 or 343 in this qualifying session. Then, of course, the GTE's 3 cars available to choose from: BMW, a Corvette, and a Porsche. And I think it's going to be about 3:51 to 3 minutes 50, the pole time in the GTE class.
Yeah, still under 4 minutes though, and I'm telling you this right now, this is going to be a very interesting one. Martin Dyland, obviously, as well, one of the drivers to watch out for here in the GT cars. Hydra Esports number 60. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. Martin Dyland, of course, in that Hydra car, one of the top drivers in that GT class, and I can be sure that he's going to put up a fight throughout this 2-hour session for that pole time, because Hydra Esports have been really in good form this season in the GTE class.
Yes, that number 60 car currently lying second in the GTE Championship with, of course, one race to go, 20 points behind Juice's Motorsport Club, number 74, the one currently in the lead. And they just need a little bit of luck, perhaps, in order to get this championship wrapped up for the number 60 car. If they finish first and Juice's Motorsport Club finish third on Sunday afternoon, they'll be tied on points. It does mean that Hydra would take the championship due to having more wins.
And that would be a very, very interesting end of the season if they won purely on the amount of wins they had. It's a completely valid way to win. If you've won more races throughout the season, then you deserve to take that place based on points. But it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out at the end of it, because we all talk about, potential championship scenarios, but we never know until the end of the Big 24 what it's actually going to be. Either way, though, drivers are pretty much starting to set laps now. They are starting laps, at least. We're going to see the first couple of times come in very shortly, I'd imagine, and we're going to start seeing roughly what the benchmarks are and whether Neil Heaton was right with his predictions or not, though I suspect he will be. He does calculate these things,
Yeah, it's funnily enough, a lot of these teams have actually got another driver who are always in the channel with them, speaking to them, almost being a spotter, almost being their race engineer, telling them where to place their car, especially in a qualifying session, to get the most amount of air, the most amount of clean air, which you might say is not really that important for a 2-hour qualifying session, but you've got to remember, because the circuit to the South is so long, you don't actually get that many laps.
Yeah, of course, it's about 3-4 minutes for a lap round here. Obviously, closer to 4 than it is 3, so you're not going to get terribly many laps. If you've got to do one out lap, one flying, and then one in, or one out lap, one flying, and then whatever it is you do to get back to the pits, half the laps you're going to be doing are out laps in that case. So maybe we'll see some alternate strategy going on. If, tyre wear is not going to be too much of a problem, except for in the tighter corners and the Porsche cars, maybe we'll see teams doing several laps at once.
Perhaps because, of course, Le Mans doesn't really wear your tyres that much, because it's a lot of starting and stopping. There really aren't that many high-speed corners, well, apart from the Porsche curves, that's it, but there really aren't that many other high-speed corners to really put enough temperature in those tyres to wear them. And I do believe, having a look at the track map, the 106 car will, it isn't the 106, it's the 11 car of Henning Villard, the one target, has sent the benchmark time of a 3 minutes 24.425, the first flying lap set in the qualifying session.
Yeah, so Joachim Stennis, Dennis Jordan has actually usurped him. Obviously, times will be in flux throughout these 2 hours, so it's not necessarily a top priority to give them as they come in, obviously, but Dennis Jordan has just gone 3/10 faster than Joachim Stennis, and Bohar ran a further 2/10 down, so the first salvo of time starting to come in now in the 3:23, sort of 3:24 area. Kind of what we were expecting, but obviously as the track rubbers in, as time goes by and drivers perfect their individual parts of the track, they will get closer and closer to really closing these lap times into what might be their final pole position time. Obviously, they've got an hour and 52 to set it, so these initial laps, if you haven't memorized the track, they haven't committed it to memory already, which I would have thought they would have, then this is really going to be about feeling the way in almost, because any qualifying session is different from any practice session. You don't know the exact conditions until the session starts. So ultimately, at the end of the day, they've got to get themselves dialed in. They've got to get themselves set up, ready for their laps in the car and qualifying. And, times we think are going to come down, but these opening laps are really more about finding their own groove rather than going out and setting the lap that they're going to depend on.
Yes, and it's fairly interesting. He said Dennis Jordan has got the fastest time. As it stands, the 23.8, because that number 12 car is the one that's currently leading the championship in the LMP2 class by 22 points over the number 5 Monaco. And on Sunday as long as that number 12 ACR Zach Speed finishes on the podium, they're guaranteed that championship.
That is not something that Monaco will want. Obviously, they don't want them to finish on the podium because they want a shot at the title if they can help it. But as you already say, Neil, they get that 12 car gets on the podium, the title's theirs, and well, that would be a very big thing for ACR Abercrombie Racing as well. You know, great to see them here, obviously, and well, they put their great talents to great use, and taking a title home would really prove it.
And in the LMP3 class, it stands the championship leaders, that number 48 Speedy Mike car, Sean Jacobs qualifying that car for now, setting the time there, a 43.3 for that number 48 car, 6/10 ahead of the number 35 Race Clutch.
Of course, Sean Jacobs and Speedy Bike, really the story of LMP3 this season, and well, there's basically only been a few races, but they haven't completely dominated in the LMP3 standings, and I would surely expect that they're going to be coming into Le Mans here with it firmly on their minds that they are going to want to make this a repeat occasion. They are going to want to get the win here too, and really just wrap up what has been a dominant LMP3 season, go to P2 for season 12, and then really just try and stick it to the big guns, as it were.
Yeah, 31 point lead for the number 48 car, mainly because they've won 5 out of the 7 rounds competed so far. And as long as they finish 5th or above, they are guaranteed their championship as well.
Pretty safe. It's a pretty safe bet, isn't it, when that's your standing?
Oh, don't say that. No, don't say that.
Well, they must be thinking of that, though. Either which way, I mean, you're entirely right, anything can happen at Le Mans, but, you know, when you've got that much of an advantage, you've got to feel somewhat confident coming into the race, haven't you?
Perhaps not necessarily confident, but able to take it a little bit easier than you normally would.
Well, it takes the nerves down almost if you're not, you know, expecting to lose it in that race. But either way, as we do rightly say, anything can happen at this great circuit of this great race. I don't really know where I was going with that one, but it is a fantastic circuit, the Circuit de Les Sables. Really, it's one of the most legendary tracks in the world and one of the most challenging too, Neil. I mean, not just because of its length, but because of some of the corners that are just quite difficult to handle, even in these prototypes.
Yes, and really through the Porsche curves especially, you need to be right on the edge of grip all the way through there. Only because you have to maximise the speed in the straights here at the moment, because so much of it is flat out. Of course, you've got the 3 straights, the 3 parts of the Mulsanne straight, then the run from Mulsanne corner up towards Indianapolis, then the run from Arnage to the Porsche curve. So you reach such high speeds through those 5 sections of the track. You really need to optimise your car for these high speed straights. That means, of course, you need to have less downforce on it, and it can become a little bit sketchy through the Porsche curves.
Yeah, it can, obviously, with the low downforce, twitchy setup on. Obviously, you've got to even then consider the fact that some teams will run twitchier cars through things like spring rate and camber and all those other variables. They'll run one more twitchy or more stable cars through there. So their individual aerodynamic settings aren't the only thing making the cars potentially a little bit more skittish through those Porsche curves. And well, when you're going through those, that is really one of the most tire intensive parts of the track, because, you know, it's left and right and left and right. You know, the Porsche curves do not care about the weight balance of your car. They do not care that weight transfer is a thing. They exist only to test the driver's mettle and test the limits of the tires of the car, because it's just a constant direction change, constant weight transfer. That is one of the most load intensive parts of the track, perhaps second only to Indianapolis, the back left-hander.
Yes, indeed, and it's all just about managing that little bit of suspension, managing that little bit of wing, and just, again, trimming it out as much as possible before you start losing control.
And there's the rub you see. You've got to try and keep control of the car, because the spin round here could be catastrophic. If you lose control out of Indianapolis, you could find yourself spearing it to the inside wall if you get it slightly under control, but then the car jolts to the right. You're in the outside wall, potential loss of bumper and or wheel there. There's loads of different places where you can get it wrong. We've seen some spectacular crashes in the Porsche curves over the years, Neil.
Yes, the Porsche cars have got that almost street circuit sort of feel, hasn't it? Because the Armcos are right there. There's no runoff whatsoever.
No runoff, absolutely no let-up whatsoever. And Dennis Jordan, I'm watching in the LMP2, is tackling them now. You see, that's how fast you're going. And oh, bit of a... See, that's the snap. That can happen sometimes. He's just got a bit of a snap out the exit there before the forward chicanes he's coming up to now. Sometimes the back of the car can just kick out on you if your car is set up a little bit more skittish. And it's because of that weight transfer, the constant changing of the load of the weight from the left to the right to the left to the right of the car, as well as that forwards and backwards, because you're braking and lifting and accelerating and all these other things. So the weight distribution constantly changing from the front right to the rear left to the rear right to the front left, and you need a stable mechanically gripping car to be able to run lower wings on there. Otherwise you're going to find it very, very tough, even in the dry, never mind the wet.
Yes, and that's something that all of these teams have been testing for the past few weeks, just trying to get as much out of the car as possible. And speaking of that, Bora Milan in the number 5 Monaco cars moved that one up into second place, 0.03 of a second behind Dennis Jordan in the number 12.
Yeah, that's not very much at all. He's putting the hammer down straight away, straight out of the marks. He is putting the challenge out to Dennis Jordan there in the ACR, and, well, obviously there's still 3/4 of an hour and then another hour left to go in this session. But Dennis Jordan, he's going to be slightly miffed at that, you imagine. He's not going to be so happy that Milan's immediately gone and encroached on his pole time.
Yes, but of course there is still, I make that, about an hour and 44 minutes to go. So there is still plenty of time for Jordan to try and wring out every 1,000th of a second of that number 12, ACR Zach speed.
Yeah, of course. Jordan obviously pushing very hard now, doing a very good job. And he has done a very good job all season in that Abercrombie racing car and been one of the star drivers of that car as well. But what to give them their dues, they have put up a very good resistance to this attempted steamrolling of the LMP2 field by ACR, and you got to give them credit. That one Apple car, the number 5, has been up there as well and has been rightly a potential championship winning car too. Wonder what the chances are if Le Mans does play in the favour. They might be walking out with the number 1 into season 12. Who knows?
Yes, perhaps, and it is all to play for, because of course it is a 24-hour race. It's a little bit of a special occasion. So double points available: 50 for the winner, 36 for second, 30 for third, so on and so forth, down to 2 points for 10.
Could be number 1. There is one Akko. There you go. 1 for 1 Akko. Who knows? Or will it be ACR's actually? This is the thing, Neil. You never know coming into Le Mans, especially when there's so many teams vying for individual positions. Even if they're not in the title, there's lots of teams in inter-team battles for, like, the other positions, the mid-table positions. I mean, in LMP2, what have we got? I'm just trying to remember how many battles we have. I mean, there's loads of them.
And yet one of the ones in that midfield scrap, if you like, in the championship as it stands, is Joachim Stensnes in that number 20 car. That number 20 is, I think that's 6th in the championship as it stands on 50 points. And there is still a big battle for 5th position, actually. One target, number 11 on 51. The Hydra 20 is on 50. Number 21, Vela, is also on 50. And number 3, Ramada Motorsports, on 46.
Yeah, very close in that section of the championship there, and I'm sure each individual position here at Le Mans come the race will matter in the final results of that. And, you know, they're all against each other, even if they're not going for the title. They're all trying to battle to beat each other and go for the race win anyway, because, I mean, if you can't win the title, you may as well go for the race win anyway, because you've got absolutely nothing to lose by doing so, and you can come out of Le Mans saying, we won the 24 hours alone, because a 24-hour race deal is It's nothing to be really, laughed at. It's a serious attempt at a serious race, It's 24 straight hours of driving cars around tracks, and people will come up and say, "Oh, it's not real, though. It's a lot easier than the actual 24." No, it isn't. There's still the mental battles going on, and they still actually have to drive with force feedback-driven wheels and all that. It's serious business.
Yes, it is. And just having a look, the sun is starting to set a little bit here as well, isn't it, at Le Mans? Soon getting into the night running.
Yeah, we'll be getting into the dark hours. That will be an interesting one. And, well, qualifying at night, especially perilous. Obviously, the cars all have headlights on and they're required to use them. But, you know, at night, sometimes you might not be able to see an apex or see a corner as well as you would in the daytime, and that can throw you off. I mean, even a momentary lapse in concentration can cause you a couple of tenths or maybe even a second. So you got to be on your guard at night. You really do.
Yes, and that you really do, and that's really the point in the race where certainly these 24-hour races we start seeing just a few more incidents in the middle of the night, despite the fact that you might expect more of them at the beginning of the race because they do have the full field. At night, a little bit of fatigue perhaps starts to set in, especially for those drivers who live in Europe and Africa and the Middle East. You know, you're starting to get into the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you've been up for a while. That tiredness just starts to set in, and then mistakes start to creep into your driving.
I mean, if you can't concentrate straight, can't keep yourself focused, can't keep yourself on the ball, then that's when potential tyre overheating, spins, and maybe even race retirements come into it. So it is serious business for these drivers. They have to stay alert, they have to stay awake, and they have to motivate themselves and their fellow teammates to get through the 24 hours. I mean, it's a serious job from a, you know, mental strength perspective, and it's probably why I'm not on that grid today. Oh, dearie me. Well, I mean, you see, there is a great quote about it, isn't there? There's those who can and do race, and then there's those who sit here who can't do talk about it. That's me in a nutshell. No way I'd ever be in a 24-hour race, so... Oh, well, that at least provides some colour to what is already a very colourful field.
Yes, yes, it's having a look at now Arne Schoenvliet on stream in the Porsche in the one that's currently in first place, currently in provisional pole position at number 97, a Giro Racing car by less than a tenth of a second, just less than a tenth, a 3-minute 50.1. Currently the time set by Schoenvliet, and right behind them is the 63 Pulse of Riccardo Corazzari. That number 97 Agera car and the 63 Pulse are third and fourth in the championship and still in with a chance of winning it.
Yep, still in with a chance of the title, and that's what's going to drive them into this race, I'm sure of it. And, well, as long as you have a chance at the title, that can often be enough to keep the motivation up to go for it, even if it's an outside chance. As long as you're still in a championship fight, you know, absolutely go for it, because, you know, that's because the nature of endurance racing is that it is so unpredictable. You could walk in as an absolute no-hoper with, like, the slimmest of chances and come out as the champion team.
Yes, and especially in this GTE class, it really depends on where the Juices Motorsport Club number 74 finished, currently being qualified by Adam Baldwin. Currently being qualified by Adam Baldwin. It really depends where that number 74 car finishes, because if they finish off the podium, that just blows the championship wide open.
Of course, and well, that Juice's car again, another very impressive car this season. But, you know, that GTE class, this is the thing, it can throw up these surprises. Of course, you have the 3 cars, well, when we say 3 cars, there's only just 3 cars, only 1 Corvette. The rest are all Porsche 991s and BMW M8s. Of course, those 2 cars are very different in their own right. The BMW, with its big twin turbocharged V8, very low revving, very high torque. Around here, you're going to get a lot of drive out corners, and you are going to get a very good straight line speed base, whereas the Porsche with its 9,000 RPM naturally aspirated flat 6, it's going to be a lot better through the corners and probably better on fuel around here as well, meaning you can have a lighter fuel load, but might lose out just a little bit in the straights to the BMW.
Yeah, and there's going to be a little bit of that sort of like strategy element as well. Do you go for a full tank and run it dry every single time? Or perhaps you just don't fill it full, but just go a lap shorter every stint. Perhaps that's faster for your car. It really does depend. It's going to be interesting to see what the strategies available to all the drivers are going to be during the race.
Yeah, obviously strategy comes into it so much. I mean, some teams will choose to just go full tank, full tank, full tank. Others might choose to use a little bit less, perhaps, and fuel save a little bit to see if they can get away with a slightly different strategy. But, oh dearie me, speaking of slightly different strategies, Johnny Severus has decided that sideways is the best strategy. He's had a bit of a spin on what I believe was a qualifying lap for him, and that, of course, in the number 10 car there, the LMP2. Svea's obviously now in a position where, well, he's continuing, so I don't think it was a outlap as such. Well, maybe it was an outlap, not so much as a flying lap. But he's going very slowly now, maybe trying to make sure the tyres can cool down again.
Yeah, just giving those tyres a chance to... Yes, cool down. In fact, he is going very slowly. Of course, in that number 10, Team Singularity, that number 10 car is now. In fact, he's slowing down just coming up to the 4 chicanes because he might be looking to have a nice gap in front of him before he starts them.
Yeah, obviously you've got to have a nice bit of clean air there, and Svea's in the Team Singularity car there. Now starting the lap, obviously was another one of the Hydra Sports cars, I believe. The number 10, but now it's Team Singularity. I believe that's a separate outfit.
I believe it is, but it's still affiliated to Hydra Esports.
It's a bit of an interesting scenario. We were having discussions about this in the lead up to the broadcast going live, but either which way, Svea's now in that 10 car, regardless of where his affiliations really lie, has just cut that corner massively, so he's going to have to abort that lap. So there you go.
Yeah, deciding that lap is it's not good enough from that point, so just immediately going back to the pits and then deciding just to go out lap and start another one.
Well, not just not good enough, but borderline pretty much illegal as well. If you had taken it, you might have got a penalty, so may as well stop at that point. Well, I mean, that was a fairly big cut, actually, and you know, track limits are quite heavily enforced here at VEC as well. You know, it's quite an interesting scenario. Obviously, we've seen teams get done for track limits before, but you know, we do enforce them quite strictly here because we have to, because you know, it's endurance racing. If you cut a corner every single lap, you're going to find yourself gaining a big advantage over 200-300 laps.
Also, you've got another new provisional pole sitter in LMP2. It is Shabakis in the Blackhawk car, 3 minutes 23.5 for Headman Knights. Almost quarter of a second ahead of Dennis Jordan now. Of course, Shabakis in the 106 Blackhawk car.
I'm just watching Svea's now, who's going in second gear down the back straight. I'm not really sure what he's doing here. He seems to have hit them at the wrong perhaps. He's cruising down, and now he's released it. Yeah, now he's got the power back on again. I have no idea what his strategy is here, but as long as it works for him, he's in P7 at the moment and 0.8 down, so he's got to find something. That much is for certain. So obviously, this is not his outlap. Well, this is his outlap, bro. This is not his flying lap. That will start when he crosses the start finish line again.
I must say that number 10 livery is very, very nice as well.
It is. It's an interesting colour combo, black, white, and green. It's almost like a neon green as well. It's a very interesting colour, and black, white, and a given colour is a very adaptable colour scheme. You know, I mean, it's not like it's a completely different garish colour scheme like light pink, dark pink, and white. That would be very difficult to map onto one of these cars.
The gap between Dennis Jordan and Milan for second and third as it stands in the LMP2 field is still pretty much what it was before, actually. 0.03 of a second separate the two of them as it stands. both of them on a 3-minute 23.8, and also 0.03 of a second separating Mika Korkiakowski and Peter Schultz, then being in the number 8 Raging Racing and the 23 Flag to Flag Sim Racing respectively. And in the GTEs, it is Arne Schoenfleet still in the lead for. Hot on his heels is Riccardo Corazzari, still less than a tenth of a second behind. And right behind Corazzari, actually, just 18 thousandths of a second, is Martin Dyerland in that number 60 car. It's going to be extremely important for that number 6, not only that number 60 car, but the 97, the 63, and the 172 to all try and get ahead of Jesus Motorsport Club in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it is Baldwin, obviously, in the 23 at the moment, qualifying for Jesus, and well, at the moment, Yossi Reneda, James Johnson, Henry Ahonen, Martin Dyerland, Riccardo Corazzari, and Arne Schoenfleet all ahead. So, net 7th at the moment for Jesus, and that is slightly disappointing, you'd argue. But obviously, you know, then again, it is Le Mans, so they can make that all back up again.
Yeah, something that I've kind of noticed throughout the season is that their race pace tends to be better than their qualifying pace.
Yeah, they always have been a better team in the race, and kind of after my own heart in that sense. I've always made better races as well, but they do seem to be a very consistent race-paced team, and that's what's won them the races, because, you know, it's alright qualifying on pole, but if you can't finish and can't be consistent enough to stay in first place, then there's no point. Whereas Jesus have always had the consistency and the ability to get into that top spot and hold it.
Yes, and just being ahead gives you, being in first gives you a little advantage. Well, being any position ahead of your rivals gives you a little advantage, because as everyone begins in the start on the speed limit, I should say, rather than releases the speed limiter when they cross the start-finish line. So you can get about a 3/4 of a second to a second difference between the cars as they cross the line, and that can just be a little bit more important, because every second counts when the championships are this close.
Every second does count, and that's what every team is making every second count. That's why they're constantly pushing hard in this 2-hour session. It's a 2-hour sprint, really, to find the best lap possible. You know, it's not like, all right, we'll go out, we'll do 4 laps, we'll come back in, we'll do 2 laps. It's out 1 lap in, out 1 lap in, because they want the fastest possible time. They're pushing the tyres to the limit over that 1 lap. They're only fueling enough for an out lap and 1 lap. Most cases, that is. Some teams may think that multiple laps is better.
Yeah, it just really depends on the setup that they've got in the car.
I'm just watching Adam Baldwin as he comes to the final seconds now, really pushing hard. Is there going to be an improvement here? It'll be important for them. Baldwin comes across the line, and I don't believe there has been an improvement. No, so Baldwin, oh, he was on an outlap, that's why. See, this is the thing, it's very hard to find out whether cars are on outlaps or not because of the length of the sector. You know, you click on one, it's like, was that an outlap as previous? Like, oh no, this one was an outlap.
And Dennis Jordan has been able to go faster, but not fast enough to improve his position. He's now only 800ths of a second behind Shabakis and that Blackhawk car now.
Shabakis obviously leading the standings at the moment, taking it nice and easy on this lap he's doing right now, obviously, but Dennis Jordan in hot pursuit. 500ths behind, and this is not over yet by any means of the imagination, but we're seeing Milan, Jordan, Case, Stenstace, Korkiakowski giving up to be the top 5 of this qualifying session, possibly even Case, Jordan, Milan being the top qualifiers for now, unless those teams get different drivers in the rest of the qualifying session, but it's definitely looking like a 106, 12, 5, 3-way fight for pole right now.
For now, you say that, but you know, within a second at the moment, I make that the top 8 in the LMP2 class within a second at the moment, and you know, can be I say that can be easily found. Perhaps easily is a bit of a strong word, but that can certainly be found here along the 13.5-ish kilometers.
A big long track, this one, and you know, we talked all the time about Le Mans' history, about the Circuit de la Salle's history, but you know, as a driver's track, it is an experience, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing really quite like it apart from, you know, well, there isn't anything like it. Not even the old Spa-Francorchamps was like this, because that's what didn't have a straight as long as we'd have down the back straight here on the Mulsanne.
Now, I'm going to say something that's perhaps slightly blasphemous. Is that Le Mans isn't a good circuit?
What?
I don't like Le Mans.
What? No, get out now, please. Just go.
I don't like Le Mans.
I can't be friends with you anymore, Neil. You completely destroyed any faith I had in you. Why? Just why would you do this to us?
It's not very exciting. It's just straight brake, straight brake, straight brake, straight brake, straight. Porsche curves are slightly interesting. Then you've got the Ford chicanes, and that's kind of it. There's nothing really there to engage your driving senses.
It's an interesting take, that's for sure. Anyway, if you'd like a job commentating on the Virtual Endurance Championship, why not write to us? And well, I don't even know what PO box Jimmy Allison uses, but I'm sure he'll find somebody. Oh dearie me, what am I gonna do with you, Neil? Honestly, no, I love Le Mans. It is different. I like it because it's different, because it, you know, enables you to really stretch your car's limits in the sense that you're running minimal downforce, maximum speed, and you've got to tackle these high-speed corners like the Porsche curves, Tetra Rouge, Indianapolis, Arnage, the Mulsanne chicanes. You know, it is very different. It allows you to stretch your car's legs. It's a speed experience that very few tracks can rival. Like, you can take a car pretty much to its limits here. And I just love it. I always have. It's got history, it's got prestige, it's something different, and I'm a sucker for those kinds of tracks.
Yeah, I suppose it is to a range of circuits in a championship. Of course, I know Le Mans is, of course, iconic to endurance racing, but yes, there are always tracks that are that different people like. Let's put it that way.
Oh, dear me! And speaking of tracks that different people like, I don't think your Appetites is liking Le Mans very much. I've just seen, going back on the replay, I was looking at him, that he's just had a big shunt coming out of the Ford chicanes. He came in, and then, he got oversteer over the chicanes and could not get it upward in time, and just the front whacked into the wall and just absolutely destroyed the front end of that car. So you are now in that 102 ACR is going to have to start a new outlap.
Yes, especially seems it was at the Ford chicanes, wasn't it? Especially seems at the Ford chicanes. That's pretty much the best part of 3.5 minutes gone.
Well, you know, when we were talking about cars being pushed to the limits, that's what happens when you push your car past the limits. That's not pushing it on the limits, that's exceeding them, but at least he knows now where the limit is. After all, sometimes the only way to find the limits of a car is to exceed them.
Having a look at currently the car in 20th place overall and 4th position in class is James Johnson in the 172 Zansho Simsport car. And what's really interesting at the moment is that 2nd to 5th in the championship are 1st to 4th in the GTE qualifying.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. And 1st to 4th in those GTs are currently Ajira Racing, then Pulse Motorsport, Hydra Esports, and then Zansho Simsport in 1 to 4. P5 being Right In Racing under that big bright orange number 87. Can't exactly miss it, can you, Neil?
Surprisingly, no.
I mean, it's bright orange. How could you not miss it? Reminds me actually of the early Spiker Formula 1 cars, which are actually too orange. That they started looking very weird on television, so to change it. Oh dearie me, but it's a very orange look. I like orange. Orange is a nice colour. Go orange, yeah. to believe that we've almost lost an hour already. We're 40 minutes into this qualifying session already, almost. And at the moment, as it stands, we are still very close to the top. I mean, we've got 4 cars within 0.265 of each other. We've got 2 cars in 5th and 6th with 300s with each other. We just need to see 2 cars with the exact same lap time now. We've got the full house.
I think that's slightly more difficult round here owing to the length of the track than another one.
No, I want to say it anyway. That's no excuse. Rome wasn't built in a day. Cars can do the identical lap times. Just takes a bit of determination.
Yes, it's determination. That's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, you can win world championships if you believe. So if one driver believes they can match another driver's time, it's going to happen. Not for Arne Schoenfeld, perhaps he's just disconnected from the server. Or at least not now. Obviously, with this being a big 2-hour-long session, there has been advice given to the drivers not to disconnect unless they can absolutely help it. Of course, if Arne Schoenfeld has gone, then he will have to be the one to return, because I believe driver swaps don't happen in the server. So teams aren't allowed to, have one driver exit the server and have another one join. Has to be 2 drivers doing the driver swap in the car rather than not in the car.
Yes, because if you've got a driver that leaves and another one that comes in the same car, now you've suddenly got 2 qualifying times with the same car, and that wreaks havoc on all sorts of things.
Yeah,
so we've got a new leader in the GTE class. It's now Martin Dyerland in the 60.
Well, there we go. Hydro Sports going pole then. That is an interesting one for sure. Dylan going pole by, blimey, just over 100th of a second. This is close-knit stuff, it really is. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking this is going to get very interesting come the end of the session if it's this close now. I mean, the closest I believe we have that is probably the closest we have between 2 cars at the moment. To be honest with you, that is probably the very closest we have.
It's 12 thousandths of a second. No, it's not actually. The gap between 3rd and 4th in LMP2s is closer.
Oh yeah, there's only 7 thousandths in that. I stand corrected. That is indeed closer. See, this is the great thing about qualifying. People are such a high caliber in this series now that we can get these close net lap times. I mean, all we need is Joachim Senses to go 7 thousandths faster and he's matched Paul Hamilton.
Second really is nothing though, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just actually seen, Neil, Martin Darlin doesn't actually have pole yet. That is still belonging to Ajira. They're on a 150.132. Darlin is on a 50.209. So still about 700 off. So to be honest, Neil, I'm surprised you got that wrong. I mean, we do have these wacky big number indicators on the side of the car telling you what place they're in.
Nah. Fake news, isn't it?
Well, if you wanted to be, then... Now, I think they're a really, really good addition, these positioning, because obviously, not only did they denote class by number, with LMP2s being blue, LMP3s being purple, DCs being green, but they display the car's position in its class, and when they're in the pits, how long the stop's taken. So we can determine what's gone on in the stop. Have they taken tyres, have they taken fuel, have they taken both, or have they just gone and got the visor clean? Maybe they've asked for a Big Mac in the car.
Well, you can usually guess with how long they have stopped in the pit lane without having to view those numbers. Because roughly, remember if I'm correctly, a tyre's only stop is somewhere in the region of 30 seconds, but a full service somewhere in the region of 65.
Of course, you've got to remember, limited virtual pit crew, so they want to do so much work at a time. They have to do the tyres, then the fuel up, and the fuel, then the tyres. Because you're only allowed so many virtual pit crew members on a car at so one time, so you can only do things so quickly. Right now, though, that's not going to be a problem for most drivers who are really just focusing on this one qualifying lap. Pit stops and driver swaps will come later. They'll come in the race in 2 days' time, and obviously, this is not a Saturday. We're doing the qualifying earlier. Give drivers a chance to make sure everything's okay. Give qualifying cuts and qualifying laps a chance to be checked and make sure any relevant penalties are applied to batch files before we actually get going for the big one, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I've just seen Dennis Jordan has actually just gone pole. That is the number 12 car that has now retaken pole with a 323.383. A lot of threes in that time. But he won. Provisional pole.
Yeah, provisional pole there. As you said, it's quite good. It's a good. I think actually almost 2/10 of a second.
Yeah, very good time to find that much, and I know
It
that
looks
doesn't sound like great, but
it looks like he's just. Looks like he's perhaps just sitting there a little bit, waiting to see if Kiss or Milan can improve in their lap times before going out again.
yeah, I mean, there's not really much point unless they improve, and you know, even though there is an hour and 15 in the session, maybe he's waiting for the track to rubber in a little bit more so he can get even more grip. I mean, it's a valid strategy, wait for the other drivers to rubber it in so you don't put yourself off. Because obviously, if you've done all your days running on a fully rubber track, which you know we don't advise doing, of course, if you're going to start on anything, start on a light one and rubber it in yourself. But you know, if the track's not rubbered, it can completely change the dynamics of it. So if you wait until it's actually got some spare rubber down on it, where you've got the line form, and you can actually get a bit more grip, you can be a bit more confident in the car, and that can make a world of difference over a qualifying lap.
Yeah, just having a little bit more confidence, especially through the high-speed corners, through Touch Rouge and through the Porsche cars. Just a little bit of grip is always helpful.
Yeah, you know, especially those tricky Porsche curves again, you know, one of the trickiest sets of corners on the track. You know, this is really where you want that little bit extra grip, whether it's through the setup, a bit extra wing, a bit lower suspension rate, a bit more rear camber for stability, or whether you just, in fact, want to use a more rubbered set of Porsche curves. You want to wait for the more people to come through, and then there'll be a bit more grip in them naturally, so you don't have to make those setup changes. Because, you know, it's alright making setup changes to accommodate the problems, but if it makes it slower, then it's not really an improvement.
Yes, and on stream now, there's Konrad Zerbiec at the moment driving that number 4 FIDA Ragnar simulator car, and I think that's the first time we've seen him in the car.
Yeah, possibly the first time we've seen Konrad this season?
I think it is.
It's entirely plausible. I mean, I'll just have a look. I could have sworn I'd seen him already, but my memory's about as reliable as the goldfishes. So, yeah, there is no Konrad Zerbic's name on the car there, so must be a new driver. Welcome, Konrad. Oh, welcome to the car, rather. I mean, Konrad's no stranger to esports, is he?
Oh, yes.
No, very much a talented individual from FIDA Sport Poland and, FIDA Ragnar Simulator as they go by now. I'm still getting confused with their, their Season 8 name, I believe. But, yeah, Konrad there in the car now, and welcome back to VEC. Let's see how he adapts to this new P2. Well, relatively new, but new for this season, LMP2. Obviously, he'll have done a lot of testing in the off before this session today. Will have gotten himself up to speed and probably should just be able to get right to it.
And now I'm right. Martin Dyrland has now got the pole position time in the GT class in that 60 car. I was just predicting the future. That's all that happened.
Oh wow! Now Neil Heatley's a psychic. God help us all. Right, Martin Dyrland then has actually gone into pole in the number 60 car. Ricardo Carazzo is second. De Giro are now third. Anna Schumfleet down in third now. On a 350.1. He is about 4/10 down on Dyrland's time at the moment.
Yeah, and 4/10 is a fairly large amount here at Le Mans. Of course, under that 1 minute 50 barrier now as well. 3 minute 49.734 for Dyrland.
Yeah, Dylan done 7.34. About 4 tenths quicker. Mind you, only 25 thousandths between Corazon and Schoenfeld to really illustrate how close some of these teams are. And about 300 between Kwiatkowski and Schulze. Is really starting to close in nicely, this. We've still got an hour and 11 minutes to go. It's be believable. Time really does fly when you're commentating on a good qualifying session, doesn't it? Especially when it's everyone out at once.
Yeah. And this is another thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can see that Alexander Van der Woude is in the Champion Racing LMP3 car. I don't think he's been in that car this season either, has he?
No, Van der Woude, usually a driver and associated with other teams, but a good friend of mine, and it's great to see him back in the VEC, definitely for Champion as well. A very established outfit. I think they've scored themselves a right little coup there, signing a Flying Dutchman such as Van der Woude. He's very talented on his day, has to be given to him. So great to see him back in that car as well. Oh, well, in that car. Great to see him back here, and LMP3 is going to be a very good test of his skills.
And as we're approaching the halfway mark, the hour mark here in the qualifying session, I'm wondering if soon we'll be seeing some team swap driver.
It's entirely plausible. I reckon we probably will see some teams go for that. Some teams will get a second driver in for the rest of the qualifying session. And we'll see exactly if anyone improves based on that. But obviously, I haven't seen Alex Siebel in this session for ATR. I haven't seen, Bo Homeland out there. I haven't seen Nico Barclay. I haven't seen the likes of Jeffrey Fournier. Possibly going to set laps if there is going to be some driver swaps. But I do see Alex Siebel in the waiting point of the driver's bit, so maybe he's going to be getting in and doing some laps himself now. Maybe this is the start of the switches. Hold on to something then, because this is looking like it's going to happen. Looks like we are going to see some driver swaps now. And to see some of the drivers get in the cars and do qualifying laps to see exactly what they're capable of in this dusking over Le Mans, because it is dusking over. It's starting to get a little bit dark now.
Yeah, it's starting to get into the night hours now. It'll be about the same time in about 48 hours we'll be getting into this night area as well.
Yeah, we will be, and well, if all's going to plan, that should be me wrapping up my first end of the commentary stint, because obviously we've got the whole schedule thing. We'll go over more on Saturday about who's doing what and when, but we've got a whole array of commentators lined up again, just like last year, and I can't wait to get on with it, because if it's going to be anything like last year, it's going to be an absolute corker, really. I think it's going to be a fantastic race, I really do, and it's only made possible, obviously, broadcasting led by people like you who watch the stream. Thank you very much if you have tuned in so far, and well, of course, we've got to give a big thank you to Jimmy Allison, without whom none of us would be here at all.
And of course the commentary organiser, if you will, bringing all the wonderful people there, ETJ, Janelle and Johnson as well, a sort of semi-team, well, shall we say race engineer and occasional racer for Zancho Simsport.
Only when he's roped into it.
Only when he's roped into it.
And when I say roped into it, we mean physically roped into it. I have to tie him up and drag him to his sibling.
That's entirely true.
Oh dear. No, he's a good guy, he really is, and it's always nice when we get to have a chat with him as well. But yeah, hopefully his team has a good outing here in the Mans this time as well. Even getting to the finish, I know. Obviously, any team who goes into the Mans with a victory to win is going to be disappointed if they don't win it. But if they go into the race with a vision of that and then don't come out there, they're going to be disappointed. But even getting to the end of such a big race, a big 24-hour slugfest like this, is an achievement in its own right. just is, because it's so difficult sometimes. Like, as I mentioned before, there's the mental aspect. You've got to keep your head in the game 24/7 through a 24-hour race, not just for you but for your teammates as well. And then all of a sudden, you've got this whole element to deal with of actually, you know, it being a big 24-hour race. You've got to stay focused, but you could be letting your team down if you make a mistake. So it's serious business.
As in the swap area is Alex Sieb. Well, no, that isn't actually. He's left now. But yes, the Alex Sieb was there. Perhaps just seeing if his teammate wanted to have another few goes or so before handing over control.
Entirely possible. Maybe just change his mind on that front. Maybe thought, oh, it's best if my teammate keeps going for a while. Maybe best if that happens. And well, obviously that was the case, because deciding right now, Dennis Jordan, it's probably best if Alex Nebo stays out and he continues to do a few more laps just to really get the car going any faster. Great stuff, it really is, this qualifying session, and we're just over an hour left to go now, aren't we? Just starting to close in with that halfway point. It really is getting dark now too.
It really is, yes, the lights certainly are needed at this point, mainly because if you didn't have them on, you wouldn't really be able to see. And I would personally suggest that seeing is an important part of racing.
It's quite important, yes.
As we are just about approaching the halfway mark of this qualifying session, about a minute and, in fact, I can have a look, it's exactly an hour, 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go now. And currently on provisional pole is now Jordi Spheres actually, in the number 10 Team Singularity cars. That's been a change in the provisional pole for LMP2. It's Team Singularity in the number 10 up to the first position by a good amount, actually 3.5 tenths, a 3 minute 23.020 for the Singularity car. And quite a few of the LMP2 cars are in the pits at the same time at the moment, just as they're coming up to the halfway point, sliding right. We've put in a few banker laps, they started to push a little bit. What changes can we make to these cars in order to get that little extra few tenths out? What sort of wing changes can we make? What sort of suspension changes can we make in order to try and make this car as fast as possible? But yes, like I said, 3.5 tenths that gap now for the number 10 car. In terms of LMP3, is still Sean Jacobs at the head of that field, like always, or at least it feels like always, that number 48 car beside that number 1 in class by almost 2 tenths of a second. So it stands at 42.7, the current pole time there. And for Hydra Esports, the number 60 car is in the first position, the GTA's Martin Dearland by about, well, that's actually a pretty good gap that Dearland's got. I made that almost about 4 tenths. Yes, currently riding on a board with Sean Jacobs, that first position in the LMP3 class. Having a look at where he is on track at the moment, he's making his way down. Oh, I think that he's just about to come over the Mulsanne hump. So he's coming down to Mulsanne corner itself. Coming down to the braking zone, hitting 300, 304 kilometers an hour at the bottom of the hill before getting an apex speed of 90 at Mulsanne Corner, then accelerating all the way out again for the long, long run up to Indianapolis. Coming up to Indianapolis now, that very, very fast right-hander followed immediately by the left. That's actually very tricky because you need to get a weight transfer and braking at the same time. That can really unsettle the car if it is not set up well. Then coming out of Arnage, the slowest corner on the circuit, coming up towards the Porsche curves, 280 kilometers an hour. 295 on turn-in for the curves. 200 kilometers an hour, the apex speed at the first right. 230 at the left, flat out all the way through. A little lift before the second left, and on the throttle for a touch. Then leveling at the throttle about 50% actually, coming around the right-hander, then through Corvette at the end. Very, very nicely done. A very, very nice line through there, but this is his outlap for John Jacobs, coming through for chicanes, the left, the right, and the second one is actually slightly tighter than the first. Apex speed of about 95 to 100 kilometers an hour before accelerating out and starting your flying lap. Araneta, currently 22nd position overall. Actually made that 23rd position overall now. And I made that 6th in class in the number 64 Satellite racing car because he's just been leapfrogged by Henry Annan, the 87 Region racing car. But yes, that number 64 currently in 6th place, and in the championship they are 15th. They've only scored 11 points so far, and they got disqualified from last time out at Silverstone for what I believe to be a driver time infringement. But of course, we'll tell you more about the driver times and all that, shall we say, that side of strategy during the race in 2 days' time. On Saturday, the pre-race show will be beginning about 2:30 in the afternoon Central European time, and you can sort that to whatever time zone you live in. But yes, it's going to be beginning at 2:30 Central European time. And the pre-race show and the first couple of hours at least will be consisting of myself, Josh, and someone that's new to the commentary booth here in the VEC. It's going to be Aidan Millward for the first time joining us. So yes, we've got about I think it's about 9 or 10 commentators actually we've got for the race. So it's going to be a nice rotating roster for you to make sure that everyone is fresh and to make sure that you get the best coverage at all times in the race, no matter what time you decide to join in. And as we've just, we're now over the halfway mark actually, we've just got 57 minutes and 45 seconds remaining now. It's time to give you perhaps a nice little rundown of the positions so far halfway through this very special qualifying session, the unique qualifying session that we have for Le Mans at the moment is Jordi Spheres in the number 10 Team Singularity car, 3.5 tenths ahead of the number 12 ACR Zach Speed of Dennis Jordan. It's the number 5 Monaco of Bora Milan, the 106 Blackhawk Racing of Shabak S, and the number 20 Hydra Esports of Joachim Stensnes. In the LMP3 class, it's number 48 Speedway Racing of Sean Jacobs, and the 27 Team RGPL of Michael Sedlacek, the 35 Race Clutch of Tony Mella, 33 Muster Racing of Michel Molla, and the number 38 Champion Racing of Alexander van der Weide. And in the GTEs at the moment is Martin Derland in pole position, the number 6 Hydra Esports car. Excuse me. I make that about almost 0.2 of a second ahead of Arne Schoenvliet in the number 97 Ajira. Following him is Riccardo Corazzari in the number 63 Pulse Motorsport car. The 172 Sancho Simsport of, I say that, it's now Ed Trevelyan and Johnson in the car, so that's literally just been a driver swap in the last couple of seconds. ETJN. And in 5th place at the moment is the number 87 of Henry Annan and Raging Racing. That's the top 5 in each class as we now enter the second half of the qualifying session. I must say something, I guess has been fairly anonymous, not exactly anonymous, fairly silent this session, just kind of being there. Currently in 4th position in the 106 Blackhawk car, a 3:23.575, 5.5 tenths of a provisional pole position. That 106 car has been very strong. In fact, it was so strong, the 106, Blackhawk won the VLMS Championship, which concluded 2 weeks ago at Sebring. But in the VEC, they've really not had the same amount of luck this season. That 106 car, 4th position in the championship. They have the pace. They had the pace to certainly compete for the championship, but just a couple of racing incidents, a couple of unfortunate bits of luck. That means they are currently in 4th position, fighting for that. Well, I would say 2nd position. They are currently 38 points off of the championship lead. They're going to need a lot of luck in order to be able to overcome that margin. The Yordi Spheres, like I said, at the head of the field as it stands, just waiting to extend that lead just to touch the only one, well, I say almost in the 322s. It's 23.21 for the number 10 car. So close to getting into the 22s. As we have a new car coming in, the number 3 Ramada Motorsports car has joined us now. George Manasakis currently driving that one and qualifying it for now. Yes, once you kind of get to the speed that these LMP2 cars are doing, if we take Spheres with the 23 dead, for example, it starts to get so much harder to find those few extra hundredths, those few extra tenths of a second, because eventually you'll just reach the fastest capability of the car around the track. Eventually it'll just become so much harder just to eke a little bit more time out of it. And I'm just wondering, at what point will these LMP2 cars actually reach that? There's been a driver change as well in the car that is currently in 5th place. The Hydra Esports number 20. Now it's Rory McDuff, the American, in that number 20 car. McDuff just coming through the Ford chicanes now. And what is his outlap? So it's going to the first flying lap for McDuff in that number 20 car. He's actually got Tony Miller right in front. The LMP3 car dives up the inside of the Dunlop curve. I think Tony Miller just took a little bit of a stage exit left there. Just to get out of the way of the number 20 car. There's also been a driver change in the number 23 flag-to-flag sim racing car. Nate Irons has got into that one, taking over from Peter Schultz, the one that's currently 7th in the LMP2 field. A 24.2 for Irons, 1.2 seconds off of the provisional pole position. And 1.5 tenths off of Mikko Korkiakowski in the number 8 Raging Racing car in front. Yeah, so we just switched the cameras across perhaps to Ed Trevelyan Johnson in that number 172 Zansho Sport car. We have a little bit of limelight and perhaps a little bit more pressure as well, because I know he loves the pressure. The sort of environment he thrives in. That Porsche BMW screaming down the straight before making its way to well, it's just coming over the Mulsanne bump actually into Mulsanne corner itself. A big overtaking opportunity here at Le Mans. Of course, the straights are the main overtaking opportunities. You've got the 2 braking zones into the chicanes, the braking zone into Mulsanne corner as well. And theoretically, you could go side by side through Indianapolis, through the right and the left there. But personally, not something that I would recommend. But then again, I'm just a commentator. I'm not one of these drivers. Just Trevelyan Johnson getting to the best part of 280 kilometers an hour before lifting off the throttle for the right-hander. And through Arnage. Apex speed at 80 kilometers an hour. Before blasting its way up towards the Porsche car's 5th gear. Just into 6th. Through the flat out left-hander kink, 282 kilometers an hour for the first right-hander. Just a breathing, just a slight breathing of the throttle over the top of the hill. Getting on the throttle as early as possible out of Corvette, using as much of the tarmac as allowed. And 260, 265 actually before braking for the Ford chicanes. What sort of lap time can Trevelyan Johnson put in? That car's time at the moment of 50.3. Trevelyan Johnson not able to go faster. It's a 50.6 actually, just a quarter of a second off his own car's fastest lap time. Christian Michel in 8th place in the qualifying session at the moment, and that's he's actually driving the 1 target car, the number 11 car, and I believe that's a new. Well, Christian Michel has been driving here in the VEC for a very long time, but I believe it's the first time that he's been in that 1 target car. Of course, it was Henning Vullart and Martin Furman, that number 11 car throughout the entire season. And Doing a 24-hour race with just 2 drivers requires a lot of effort, a lot of physical, a lot of mental effort. So just getting a 3rd driver in to help ease the pressure a little bit. And I would personally suggest that that is a very good move. Currently in 7th place in the GTEs is Eric Schmeider. That number 74 Juices Motorsport Club car. That number 74 is the one that's obviously in the lead of the GTE Championship as it stands. And 7th position is not exactly what they want. Ideally, they want pole, but they want to get as high up in the qualifying grid, high up in the grid as possible. Positions isn't exactly where we'd expect them to be. We are seeing a nice little gap between the classes as it stands. They're not the MP3s and the GTEs aren't as close as you perhaps could have imagined. The leader of the LMP3s and the leader of the GTEs, of course, being Sean Jacobs and Martin Derland respectively. The gap between their qualifying times 7 seconds. The gap between the slowest LMP3 and the fastest GTE as it stands 3.5. And George Manasak is that number 3 car. They're really not getting the speed out of that Armada Motorsports car that you would have necessarily expected. Currently 8th in the championship, with a 2nd position at round 2 and a 3rd position at round 6. We're still there in 11th place, about 7/10 of a second off of the car in front. And the gap between Bormalan and Shabakis, well, I think that's fairly close. As it stands, 19 thousandths of a second separate the two of them. Both of them only 23.5. Both of them half a second behind the Team Singularity. Number 10 of Yardy Spears, who's still in the provisional pole position. As Bora Milan just comes into the pits. Henry Arnon, currently in that Region Racing number 87 car, currently lying in 5th place in the GTE field, 22nd overall. That number 87 car, having a look at the championship standings so far this season. They currently lie in 13th place with 12 points. At 2 9th places at round 4 and round 7. And a 6th at round 5. Yes, Henry Ann in that number 87 car. Virgin Racing with both an LMP2 effort and this GTE effort. Both of them very, very distinctive, bright orange. So you can almost see it in your rearview mirrors in the dark. They decided to go for one of the BMW M8s this season. Field dominators and the BMWs, only the one Corvette C7R. That one team is the number 51 Sim Racing for Holland car. Currently not here in qualifying. Of course, if it means if you don't take in qualifying, you automatically start at the rear of the field. That's what perhaps a few of the teams are deciding to do. Of course, it's a midweek qualifying session. Perhaps not able to some teams not able to get any of their drivers available for this midweek session. A shift has closed in that gap at the front. I believe he has. It's now 1.5 seconds. The Shabakis. In fact, he's actually put that up to second. That's entirely right. Excuse me. Yes, Shabakis moved that gap into 1.5 seconds and moved that Blackhawk number 106 up into second. It's a very, very good omen then for the 106 car. Of course, they're needing every single point available and a little bit of luck not to be able to have a chance at this championship. And a good qualifying position is only the start of that battle. Closest qualifying battle on track. See if we can actually, I'll see if we can actually find where that closest qualifying battle on track is at the moment. And if my mathematics don't deceive me, I make it the gap between Henry Annan and Ed Trevelyan Johnson. Yes, it's the gap between ETJ and Henry Annan, the closest one on the circuit as it stands. That is that's just under 0.02 of a second. as if you can bear with us, but I think we may have just had some variety of technical problem. That's if you can still hear me. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we are still are here, but I think we've had some sort of a little bit of a technical malfunction with 36 minutes to go in the 36 minutes to go in the qualifying session. This is everyone now has the ability. Well, everyone's now been given the permission of VEC to rejoin the server. So a little bit of a server hiccup by the looks of it. You few cars still out on track. Able to put in lap times. Via being one of them in the Atlantic Motorsports car, in the Atlantic Motorsports Porsche. George Manasakis as well as Yernis Semenchich. As we now have everyone rejoin the server, and of course, if they exit and rejoin with the same driver, their time will be saved from before, so those times aren't scrubbed at all. They are saved in the same session. So once the number 10 Team Singularity car comes back, they will retake that number 1 position. And the same will go for Sean Jacobs in the Speedy Mike car. And Martin Dearland in the Hydra Esports number 60. As we're now getting the broadcast stream back up online, so hopefully you'll be able to see what's happening here as well soon, hopefully. as I believe we may well be back up to full capabilities. So thank you for keeping with us. Sean Jacobs has indeed rejoined, and he is leading the LMP3 class still by almost 0.3 of a second over Tony Mella. Tony Mella and the number 35 race. As it stands, it is still the number 10 Team Singularity, the number 106 Blackhawk, number 12 ACR Zaxby, the top 3 in the LMP2 class. The GTEs, in the LMP3s, it's the number 20, it's the number 48 Speedy Mike, the 2017 March PL, and the 35 Race Clutch. And in the GTEs, it is the number 60 Hydra Esports, the 97 Ajira, and the 63 Pulse. As we now have Jordi Spears back with us, so we are back up to 3 pole position sitting cars. But as I was saying before, George Manasakis in that 3 car, currently in 11th. Not really being able to get that much speed out of that car. 27.2 is the fastest time the number 3 car has done. It's 0.6 of a second off of the car in front and 4.2 off of pole position. As there's been a driver change as well, if I am not mistaken. Kevin Yeager, currently in 26th position overall. He's now got into that number 81 Blackhawk car. I believe that's been a driver change, if my mind is not tricking me. My mind could well be tricking me, because it tends to do that occasionally. But yes, the number 81 car, 26th overall and 9th in class at the moment. I believe we're pretty much back up to a full contingency now. But yes, Jordi Spheres. Just before that hiccup, it was Shabba Kiss managed to close in that gap. It's now 1.5 tenths the gap between Spheres and Kiss. The gap between the 10 and the 106. Yerny Simicic in third. Excuse me, Yerny Simicic in third and number 12, ACR Zaxby, a further 2 tenths behind Kiss. And I believe that Yannis Simčić actually managed to run away from Bormalan ever so slightly as well. The gap between the two of them now about 2/10 of a second actually. So Simčić managed to get himself a little bit of a bumper, a little bit of a buffer to the number 5 Monaco car. Just having that little bit of a buffer can be very good psychologically. Just a little bit, because you can really relax ever so slightly, I find, once you know that you have got a nice little bit of time behind. As there's going to be a driver change for the number 60 car in the last 25 minutes of this session, the one currently on provisional pole in the GTE class. And it is going to be Kasper Stoltz getting in that car. Martin Dylan deciding after 1.5 hours that he has no more to give. He cannot get another 100th of a second of that car. And I make where is the closest battle again yet on still I should say rather on track, and it is still that battle for 4th position in the GTE class. It is Trevelyan Johnson and Henry Ann in the 172 and the 87 battling 21st overall and 4th in class. But yes, Trevelyan Johnson was just a 1900th of a second. Is it more than that? Excuse me. No, it's 1800ths of a second. It's actually slightly less. 1800ths of a second gap does Trevelyan Johnson have. We still got to find 3/10 of a second to overtake Riccardo Corazari and get onto that qualifying podium position. And a qualifying podium position can be fairly fun. Perhaps one can say it's almost as good as a normal race podium position in order to get into the top 3, because of course 2 hours means that, compared to the 20 minutes that we normally have, 2 hours means that all these drivers have ample time to really squeeze the best out of their cars. So to still be able in the top 3 after a 2-hour qualifying session really is something to be proud of. But getting into the final, well now, we've almost got 20 minutes to go, which is the length of a normal qualifying session for these cars. And of course, we've got to remember, because of the length of the Circuit de la Sarre, 3 minutes 23, the current pole position time for LMP2 is 3:42 for LMP3 and 3:50. Where is it again? It's not 3:50 anything at all. It's 3:49 for GTEs. It really means that you've only got, at best, 3 flying laps left. You've really got to make every lap count at this point in time. You've got to make sure that you are right on the ball. You've got to make sure that this car is set up perfectly. You've got exactly the right amount of fuel to do an out lap and 1 fast lap. No excess fuel required, because when it gets down to it, every single little bit of weight, every single kilometre slower on an apex of a corner can have a massive effect on your lap time. Mikko Korkiakowski is one of them, currently in 6th place in the number 8 Raging Racing car. A 3:24.1 the fast lap for that number 8. But he's got to find 3 tenths, I make that, to make it into the top 5, to overtake Rory McDuff in that number 20 Hydra Esports. And to be able to beat Hydra Esports is a pretty good achievement, especially for Raging Racing, who have not necessarily been the fastest all season. They've shown flashes of pace, but not necessarily been able to combine everything together, not being able to get all the parts working at the same time. The best result was a 4th place at round 2 of the championship, but since then they have only scored 12 points. Mind you though, they have scored in the last 4 races. They have been consistently scoring points at the lower end of the top 10. But for them to be able to beat Hydra Esports would give them a great deal of confidence coming in to the Le Mans 24 hours. So getting in, like I say, getting into the final stages of this qualifying session, another one who will be looking to perhaps take a couple of scalps. Is that number 81 Blackhawk car that I talked about before, with Kevin Yeager currently at the wheel, 26th overall. 26th overall and 9th in class. They find 3/10 of a second. They'll be able to overtake the championship's leading GTE, that number 74 Jesus Motorsport Club. Again, that would give them a great deal of confidence coming into the race in 2 days' time. Chabakis currently sat in the pits. That is fairly interesting that he sat there. Just under 16 minutes to go. Currently in 2nd place, a 10th and a half of Jordi Spheres. He has sat there. He has sat there for a little bit of time now, so I'm just wondering if he's just making a couple of final adjustments to that 106 Blackhawk car to try and get every single little bit of time out of it, out of that Oracle 07. This LMP2 class is all spec. They all run the Oracle 07. So the only difference in LMP2, I made that LMP3 as well, because in LMP3 is, I think it's the Norma M30. Please don't kill me if I'm wrong, Jimmy. But that's also a spec class for LMP2 and LMP3. The only difference is the setups and the drivers. The only difference is the setups and the drivers. So it really goes to show the quality of the field that we have here. When we have these cars that are so close to each other. The top four make that covered by half a second. The top 9 in the LMP2 is covered by 1.7. In the LMP3s, excuse me, the top 3 covered by 0.3 of a second. Jacobs, Sedlacek, Mella. Melli, the only one out of those 3 currently out on track. Mella in that number 35 race clutch car. It's starting to get to crunch time for all of these drivers. If you presume that an outlap and a fast lap takes minutes, you've only got enough time to do that 2 more times. 13 and a quarter minutes left to go, and you've only really got enough time for 2 more flying laps. Shabakis is still sat in the pit lane. In the 106 car, he's still not moved. Jordi Spears has gone out again in number 10, Team Singularity. Deciding to try and extend his lap time. Perhaps he hasn't really seen that Shabakis isn't doing anything. Perhaps he hasn't really seen that Shabakis is continuing to sit in the pit lane for whatever reason. That number 106 car is starting to run out of time to set 2 flying laps. For them, an out lap and a flying lap is 7 minutes. Which means they need to be out by 11, I would say. I say they need to be out with 11 minutes to go to be able to guarantee that second flying lap, and he's still sat there with 11 minutes and 50 to go. I think the Shabakis, I think that might be the session over for the 106. Jordi Spears, provisional pole sitter in the 10. Making his way down the Mulsanne straight to chicane number 2, the left-right-left chicane. And making his way down to Mulsanne corner, over the hump now, is the number 10 car, 328 kilometers an hour. Oh, and he's got it very, very wide there up Mulsanne. That could well be lap over for the 10. Just a little bit too hot. It will at least continue this lap. to see if there's an improvement. He needs to, because he's only got enough time for one more after this one. In terms of the GTEs, it is still well, I see it's number 60 car. It's now Casper Stolzer in that number 60 car, leading the GTE field by about 0.2 of a second. Oh, as I believe the number 87 Raging Racing car's got their ringer in there now. Someone that we've not seen all season long is in the 87 car. It's now Eunice Ravio. Eunice Ravio is now that number 87 car. Very, very interesting. We know he's a very, very fast driver. We've seen it so many times in the VEC before. That he can just pull something special out of a GT car. The question is, can he pull something special out now? In the dying minutes of this session, 9.25 to go. As Ravio makes his way down the Mulsanne straight, the first chicane, he's only going to have one bite at the cherry. It's going to be a one-lap wonder for the Finn. What can he do? He's only got to find 0.7 of a second to stick it on pole. I mean, how hard can it be? John Jacobs in the LMP3s. Where is he on the circuit? Jacobs is just coming down the Mulsanne straight himself, actually coming down to chicane number 2. Makes the left, the right and the left. Oh, and a little bit wide through the centre of the corner there, I feel. Right behind him, he's got Michelle Molla, who's one of his rivals in the LMP3 class. Perhaps Molla can get a little bit of a slipstream. He's got to find 1.2 seconds to overtake Tony Mella for third position, so that is going to be a big ask, but perhaps just going to be able to get that little bit of slipstream from Sean Jacobs really is going to help him to get into third place. Seven and a half minutes to go. Spears making his way through Arnage. Making his way through Arnage now, coming up through the Porsche curves. What sort of speed can he carry through here? And we've reached the 7-minute mark now, so essentially if you are in the pits now, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to put in another lap. Mikko Korkiakoski in the number 8 Raging Racing car, I believe, is right there on the cusp. He literally just left the pit lane with exactly 7 minutes to go. It might be very, very close for Korkiakoski. Korkiakoski may well be the last LMP2 car to set a lap time here. Kiss, Simoncic, Milan, Schultz, Manasakis, Sedlacek, Schoenvliet, Arneda. All of them are done. All of them. Arneda still isn't done. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if any of these drivers can have enough time to put in another fast lap, or whether they've decided that that's it. Of course, when you really get to this sort of time, it puts a lot more pressure on your outlap. You cannot afford to make a mistake. You cannot afford to get a touch of those Armco barriers. You cannot afford to get a couple of wheels on the grass and spin off, because then you might damage your car, and even you may not be able to have enough time to get back to the flag. 6 minutes to go here at Le Mans. Jordi Spears finishes his lap. I believe he did go faster. Indeed he did, at 22.95. Sorry, 22.95 4, 7 for spheres, into the 22s, and the fastest lap of the day, 0.2 of a second, now separate him and Shabakis. How's the battle between Raging Racing and Zancho getting on? Well, Zancho have managed to go faster. Ed Trevelyan Johnson, after being roped in, has put that Zancho Sport car up into 3rd position. ETJ managed to overtake Ricardo Corazara in the 63 Pulse Motorsport car. His fast lap now a 49.974. He's only a quarter of a second off of the time of the Hydra Esports number 60. Perhaps ETJ can put in one final stunning lap and surprise all of us. I've got the clock, 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Kiss, his qualifying session is over. Sedlicek, his qualifying session is over. The other 28 cars out on track can still set a lap time. So what can Spheres do? Can he extend his gap? Can Simoncic overtake Kiss? John Jacobs is a lovely 3.5 lead over everyone else, but the problem, well, I suppose the good thing for Jacobs is the car behind is Sedlicek. Sedlicek is not making another lap time. Tony Mella, who's behind him, is 0.4 of a second, 4.5 make that off of Sean Jacobs. That's going to be very, very hard to find in the final one lap wonder. Kasper Stoltz, the GTE leader, he's done for the qualifying session. He's leaving his fate to the gods to see if that number 60 can hold on to pole position. Now Schoenvliet is just making his way to the to the Ford chicanes now. Schoenvliet make his way to Tetra Rouge now. And down onto the fearsome Mulsanne straight, reaching maximum velocity almost 3 times. Jarno Simoncic coming down the Mulsanne straight himself. there is Simoncic out on track. He'll just be coming over the Mulsanne hump now himself. 325 kilometers an hour at the breaking point. He's managed to slow that one up nicely. And time has expired. That is it here at Le Mans 000. All these cars are on their final laps. Milan is making his way through the Porsche, up towards the Ford chicanes now. What can Milan do? A 23.54 is his current fast lap. And not able to improve is Milan. That is it for him. Simoncic has aborted his lap. So it looks like that pole position will go to Spheres. It looks like that number 10 Team Singularity car will be taking for the LMP2 class. Sean Jacobs is taking pole position for LMP3 and Casper Stulz is taking pole position for GTEs. It looks like that is all said and done. It looks like that no one will be going any faster. If we have a look at where Rory in circuit, because he still is. He is just coming up towards our notch now. What can McDuff do? The Porsche curves now in the number 20 car. Left-hander right on the edge of adhesion. On the edge of grip. Ford chicanes, can the numbers 20 go any faster? A 23.841 the current time. Not able to go any faster. Peter Schultz, same goes for Schultz, the same goes for Zarebic. Alexei Zagornik is the next 17th position overall. And 6th place in the LMP3 class, excuse me. Can Zagornev improve his lap time? His current one is a 46.13. Coming through Maison Blanche. And the Ford chicanes. Can Zagornev in the 42 Blackhawk car improve his time? The answer is no, and on to the final car on track is the other Blackhawk car, the other Blackhawk car. It's Kevin Yeager in the 81. We'll see if he's actually able to finish the slappers, whether he's already got the checkered flag. I'm not exactly sure in the Porsche. And he comes into the pit, so the answer was no. So we have now finished the qualifying session, and on pole for each of your classes are the number 10 Team Singularity of Yardy Spheres, the number 48 Speedymite Racing of Sean Jacobs goes pole in LMP3, and GTE is the number 60 Hydra Esports of Casper Stultz. So that's it from the qualifying session here in Le Mans. Join us at 14:30 Central European Summertime. You can convert that to your own wherever you live in the world, but 14:30 Central European Summertime is when we will begin the pre-race broadcast, and at 1500 the 24 hours of Le Mans Race 8 of Season 11 of the VEC will go green. So join us then for some fantastic racing, and you always know, because it is the VEC, it is going to be amazing. So from myself, Neil Hitley, from Josh Anderson, from race director Jimmy Allison, and from all of the teams and drivers here, so long, farewell, and we'll see each other on the other side.